Hi grade 3s, welcome back. This week we're going to be looking in our books. Everybody up free. We're going to be looking at Unit 8, Lesson 3 and Lesson 4. So Unit 8, Lesson 3 is on page 76 and 77. Unit 8, Lesson 3, page 76 and 77. So for Lesson 3, we're going to read a story. So I'm going to read the story about Let's Clean Up. So I'll read the story and you can just listen and follow along in your book. Let's clean up. Emma and Julie want to play at the river. Oh no, look at the river. It's dirty. We can't play here. Let's go home. See, they want to play at the river, but it's very dirty. It's full of garbage. How was your day at the river? This is the next day at school. How was your day at the river? The teacher asks. Well, it was dirty. There was garbage everywhere. What can we do? See, went to school and the teacher asked them, what did you do? They said, we went to the river, but it was very dirty. So what can we do? Emma and Julie are making posters. How do you spell Saturday? S-A-T-U-R-D-A-Y. See, they're at school, they're making posters. And then she asked about Saturday, how do you spell it? And she spelled it for her. Next one, now it's clean. Great job, everybody. So Emma and Julie went to the river. They saw the river was dirty. They told the teacher. They asked what they can do. They made posters for a cleanup. And they got everybody together from their class plus the teacher, and they cleaned the park and the river. So the value we learn from the story is be helpful. Be helpful. If you see something is wrong or you can do something, you must help. Be helpful. They saw, Emma and Julie saw that the river and the park was dirty, and they were helpful. They did something about it. They organized a cleanup, and they went there with their class and their teacher, and they cleaned up everything. Now, on page 77, on top, section B, read and circle. We're going to say yes or no. Number 1, Emma and Julie were at the beach. No. Emma and Julie were at the beach? No. Circle? No. They were at the park. Number 2, the river was dirty. Yes. Number 2, the river was dirty. Circle yes. Number 3, there were flowers everywhere. Do you see any flowers? I don't. So number 3, there were flowers everywhere? No. Circle no. Number 4, Emma asks how to spell Saturday. How do you spell Saturday? Yes. Emma asked how to spell Saturday. Circle yes. Now, we are going to go to page 78. Lesson 4. Unit 8, Lesson 4 on page 78 and 79. Lesson 4, technology. Technology. Technology are things that we use today that use technology like cell phones, computers, TVs, cameras, washing machines. They all use technology. Now let's look at the vocabulary. So on top of the page, there are 4 pictures and 4 words, the vocabulary that we're going to be using in this lesson. Number 1, cell phone. Cell phone. Number 2, laptop. Laptop. Number 3, digital TV. Digital TV. Number 4. Digital camera. Digital camera. So those are the 4 words we're going to be using in this lesson. Number 1, cell phone. Number 2, laptop. Number 3, digital TV. Number 4, digital camera. Now, section C. Listen and say, then listen and read. So I will read 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I will say the important parts, so you can just listen. Number 1. There weren't any cell phones in 1940. Phones were bigger and heavier. There were phones like this. So, there weren't any cell phones in 1940. There were phones like this. These old, big, heavy phones. Number 2. There weren't any laptops in 1960. Computers were bigger and noisier. There were computers like this. So, there weren't any laptops in 1960. There were computers like this. Big old computers that filled the room, and they were big and noisy, made a lot of noise. Number 3. There weren't any digital TVs in 1955. TVs were smaller. The pictures were in black and white. There were TVs like this. There weren't any digital TVs in 1955. There were TVs like this. Old TVs, black and white pictures, very small screens, couldn't see anything. Number 4. There weren't any digital cameras in 1915. Cameras were slower and bigger. There were cameras like this. There weren't any digital cameras in 1915. There were cameras like this. Big old cameras, and the pictures were in black and white. Now we're going to go to page 79. So from this page to this page, on top. D. Read and circle. So the questions, yes or no questions, are from this section. So let's see. Number 1. There were cell phones in 1940. Let's look at number 1. There weren't any cell phones in 1940. So number 1, circle no. Number 2, computers were bigger and noisier in 1960. Let's look at number 2. There weren't any laptops in 1960. Computers were bigger and noisier. So number 2, computers were bigger and noisier in 1960. Circle yes. Number 3, there were TVs in 1955. There weren't any digital TVs in 1955. TVs were smaller. Number 3, there were TVs in 1955. Circle yes. There were TVs, just not digital TVs, but they were TVs. They were just smaller and in black and white. Number 4, cameras were faster and smaller in 1915. There weren't any digital cameras in 1915. Cameras were slower and bigger. Number 4, cameras were faster and smaller in 1915. Circle no. Cameras were bigger and slower. Now we're going to look at E, section E. Section E. There's a timeline. See the timeline? It starts at 1900 and it goes all the way up to 2010. So 10 years, 1900, 1910, 1920, 1930, 1940, 1950, 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010. So this is a timeline. It tells you, and then we have to put in when things were made. You see there, laptops were made in 1970. Cell phones were made in 1975, around about, they started coming out. Digital cameras, 1988 they started coming out. Digital TVs, 1998, 99 they started coming out. We have to look for these ones. So let's see, computers, TVs, phones, cameras, where do they fit in on the timeline? Let's see for the first one. Is between 1910 and 1920, so that's about 1915. Let's read here. What was made in 1915? There weren't any digital cameras in 1915, but there were cameras, old ones. So this one, we're gonna write cameras. Next one. Let's do this one. Where is it? 1941. Around 1940. Let's see what was made in 1940. There weren't any cell phones in 1940, but there were old phones, bigger, smaller, or bigger and heavier. So let's write phones in there, the first phone, 1940. Next one. Let's look at the green one. 1955. Let's see, what were made in 1955? There weren't any digital TVs in 1955, but there were these small black and white TVs. So 1955, we're gonna put TVs. And then the last one, the orange one, 1960. What was made in 1960? There weren't any laptops in 1960, but there were computers, big and noisy computers. So we're gonna put computers in this little block. So that's the lesson for today, the two lessons for today. So watch the video, fill in your book what you can, and then when I see you in the live class on Wednesday, then I'm going to show you the PowerPoint and we'll be going over lesson 3 and 4 together again. And then as usual, I will save the PowerPoint and put it on the e-platform. So until next time, or until I see you in the live class, goodbye.